Hi, this is Janine Sews, and I'm Janine. Thank you so much for watching my channel. I talk about sewing clothes and a wardrobe for a woman over 50. What I'm going to share with you today is a project that involves something that I swore I would never do again. I'm wearing the Closet Core Cali top, and I made this top maybe in 2018 or 2019, and this is a cotton fabric. It's a Gertie print that I got at Hobby Lobby. I liked it because of the lemons and because it is a border print. So this has been worn lots, and every time I wear it, somebody comments on the lemons. I went out today and 3 people commented on the lemons, so clearly everybody loves lemon things in the middle of summer. So as I said, I got myself involved in a project that I swore I would never do again, and that was a sewing contest. I've mentioned this before. I used to be very involved in an online sewing forum that had a lot of sewing contests, and I entered all of them, or it seemed like all of them. And it didn't matter if the contest involved me sewing something I wanted or I would wear, I always entered. So I wound up with a lot of, I'm going to be honest, I sewed this stuff and I picked it. I wound up with a lot of crap that was never worn. And it wasn't stuff that I needed in my wardrobe. So I swore to myself I was not entering any more online sewing contests, any sewing contests in general. But then earlier this year, I started seeing some chatter online about the sewing competition that's part of the Calgary Stampede. Like most state fairs, county fairs, and exhibitions, there are some craft contests. Baking. Calgary Stampede doesn't have baking, but they do have like cake decorating. Painting, quilts, and the Stampede has garment sewing. They have regular garment sewing, bag sewing, and they have upcycling. And they've been having some trouble getting people to enter the sewing. And that kind of bothered me because I know that that leads the people involved to think that nobody sews. And of course we sew, and of course we're relevant. So I thought my little way of supporting this competition and showing that people still sew was to actually enter the competition. The one rule that I set for myself was that I was only going to sew something that I needed in my wardrobe and I had planned to sew anyways, and that was a summer weight jacket. Coincidentally, about 2 weeks before, I'd picked up some really nice, soft, stretch twill at Rick Rack, and I was going to use that to make a jacket. In my mind, I was thinking of just a very basic kind of painter-style jacket, just almost like a shacket, just out of denim, something very simple. And after I entered the competition, paid my 15 bucks and entered the competition, I started thinking, you know, if I just make a really basic jacket, it might not be enough to really be entered into a competition. It might not have enough unique elements or be technically challenged enough. So I thought about what I had around. I didn't want to buy another pattern, and I remembered that 2 years ago, I had entered an online sewing contest with a jean jacket. And I did record a video about it. I'm going to pop that up here. And I'm just going to really quickly go through this because I could talk about this for a long time. But I'm going to quickly tell you about the pattern and how it went. And then I'm going to tell you what happened with the contest. So the pattern that I used is Islander Sewing Systems Jacket Express. Janet Prey, who is Islander Sewing Systems, teaches industrial sewing techniques for the home sewer. That means that you don't use pins and that you batch sew things. In the case of this jacket, she suggests that you set up your own little assembly line, which is what I did. So I had my sewing machine set up with a denim needle. I had a backup machine set up with a top stitch needle and top stitch thread, and I had my serger ready to go. Here's a picture of the jacket that I made the first time. You can see that I color blocked that. So once I decided on this pattern and this technique, I thought I want to color block it as well. So I went back to Rick Rack Textiles and I got a piece of printed denim So I was going to do the printed denim and the stretch twill and this pattern. So I cut everything out, and at this point it was like 2 weeks before the garment was due. And I procrastinated. As always, it's just kind of paralysis by analysis. Maybe I should do something different. So I cut everything out, and then I started sewing about 4 days before the jacket was due, which was not a great plan. Because as it turned out, in my little assembly line, I got things turned around. When you sew the pieces, you sew together the seam, then you press it, then you serge the seam, and then you top stitch. And you do a whole bunch of straight line sewing. And then you press everything, and then you do all the serging, and then you go back and you do all the top stitching. And then you start putting the pieces together. And I got the front yoke pieces backward. So I had, by this point, sewn the seam, serged it, and done 2 rows of top stitching on the 2 front pieces, the front yoke, and the front pocket. So I had procrastinated, and now I had created 3 hours of unpicking for myself and then having to sew everything back together. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I left it really late. I wound up doing the buttonholes at 5 a.m. the day the jacket was due, and sewing the buttons on like at 6 a.m., then pressing everything, and I didn't even have time to try it on before I took it, and I dropped it off for the competition. I'm going to show you the jacket, and then I'm going to tell you the outcome of all of this. So here's the jacket. And it has yokes, piece, a piece, 3-piece sleeves, and then in the back there's the yoke and 3 panels for the back. Now the pattern calls for, I did the same things on this one that I did on the last one. I left off the collar because I thought the collar was just not current. I left off the flaps on the pockets because they draw attention to the bust, and I didn't want to do that. And also, I like the rather architectural shape that is left when you don't have the pocket flaps on. And on the pattern, there are welt pockets. I also left those off because I think it just adds weight. And here's the inside of the jacket, just to show you how it's finished with the techniques that Janet Prey teaches. So this, you can see it's beautifully finished on the inside when you follow her techniques and you have a serger. No loose threads anywhere. And just to look closely, this is the front pocket, right there. And it's nice how the panels come together in the middle because it just adds some interest. And then I put a label there, a bespoke label. Here on the side you can see, well actually on this pocket, you can see the top stitching, which I didn't do a great job of. And then on the inside on the bottom, there is a facing on the hem, right here. But all the seams are serged and then double top stitched. So they're flat, and you know that this could go through a washing machine 100 times and there wouldn't be any issues. Cuffs. And then that's it. The buttons that I used are square. I got these at Out of Hand here in Calgary, and I didn't quite know how to do the buttonholes, how to orient the buttons for the automatic buttonholes. So some of the buttonholes are pretty tight. Like it takes 3 or 4 minutes to button up all the buttons. This is my jacket. So my jacket was entered into the competition, and one of my friends went down the second day of the stampede. I hadn't heard anything from them, so I knew I hadn't won anything. I didn't win anything. But one of my friends went down, and she had also entered the competition, and both of our jackets were on display, which was really exciting. So I went down twice and saw my jacket and looked at all the other entries, and it turned out there were 7 or 8 garments entered. And some of them were entered by young people in really unique and cool things, which was fantastic. And ultimately, that's what I was kind of hoping I'd see, that a bunch of people entered the competition, and I am going to encourage a bunch more people to enter the competition next year. But anyway, so Stampede ends. I didn't win anything, but my jacket was displayed, so that's really cool. I was super happy about that. And then I went down and I picked up my jacket 2 days after. You had to go down at a certain time period and pick up your jacket. Now, as I said, I had done a lot of online sewing competitions in the past. And the thing about online competitions is, if I know that I've kind of not aligned a seam quite right, I can be very strategic in how I photograph the garment. Or maybe my hair is going to be a certain way if there's something I don't quite want to show. Or maybe I won't show one particular angle. It's really easy to, I don't say everybody does this, but I know there were times when I did it. If there was something that was a picture that was going to show that things weren't quite right, then I was not going to post that picture in the entry. Okay, that's just the way it is. Now with this contest, they had the jacket and they were inside of it. They opened all the buttons, they looked at the seams, they checked to see what was trimmed, what wasn't. So it was a completely different judging experience. And I went to pick up my jacket and they handed me this little sheet. And it's the judge's notes. Well, first, I was afraid to look at it, but then I quite enjoyed the things that they said. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 7 things that they judged on. And each one is rated on a scale of 5. Developing, good, very good, excellent, or not applicable. And of the 7, I got 2 goods, and I got 5 very goods. I was absolutely stunned. And they said that they liked the labels, they were nice details. Good use of fabric, nicely constructed, top stitching was nice. So I was really pleased with that. Now, there were 3 things that they pointed out that they marked me down on, and those were 3 things that I knew I had not done right or not done well when I very quickly finished my jacket that final morning. And those 3 things were, on the jacket, I showed you that there's the inside facing on the hem. I didn't tack the facing to the seam allowances on the inside. And I have worn the jacket, and yeah, the facing falls down. So I have to tack that. No, I knew that. I just kind of forgot about it and didn't take the time to do it. The second thing they pointed out was that the top stitching wasn't even. And I know the top stitching wasn't even. And there are certain places where it wasn't even when I was sewing it and I knew it wasn't even, and I just kind of was like, I'm so tired of this, I don't care. I've got to get this done. So again, if I had not procrastinated and made a mistake, top stitching probably would have been more even. And the final thing was that the buttonholes are a bit small. The buttonholes are more than a bit small. The buttonholes are really small, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about them because I have the square buttons, and on some of them, even when you turn them and angle them, it's almost impossible to get the buttons done up. So yes, 3 things they marked me down on. All 3 things I knew, and they would not have been a problem if I had just not procrastinated. Now, even if I'd done everything right, I don't think that I would have won a ribbon. But I was really thrilled to have a real person who didn't know me, who anonymously judged my sewing. Because I'm one of those people, when everybody says something nice, I'll say, yeah, but you haven't seen the inside. And here somebody saw the inside and they said it was okay. So it was all in quite a fun experience. And yes, I have a jacket. And as I said, I didn't try it on before I handed it in. And yeah, it's a little small. It will fit. If I keep walking, it will fit. But I'm still going to wear it. I'm just not going to do up all the buttons. And it's the perfect weight for summer in this part of the world. And I like the style. I especially like the changes that I made in the pattern. It's a great weight, and it's something that can be worn with a variety of garments. It works with my color scheme, and it's also, I like the style a little bit better than a traditional Lee denim jacket. It's just got a little bit more shape, which is a little bit nicer. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. When I enter the competition again next year, yeah, and the interesting thing is, if you're in the Calgary area, the interesting thing is that you can enter any garment that's made within the year before Stampede. So if you sew something now, and it's the best thing you've ever made, you could enter it in the competition next year. It doesn't have to be something that's made especially for the competition or immediately prior. And it's only $15 to enter. But you do have to be able to take your garment down and drop it off on the grounds before Stampede and pick it up after the grounds. But it's really kind of exciting to see something that you've made on display. And I know that not everybody goes to Western Oasis where the display is, but the people that do visit that section of the grounds, the Stampede grounds, are people that appreciate the work that we all put into our craft, whatever that may be. So that's my experience, and yeah, I'm not going to enter any online sewing contest, but I would definitely enter another in real life sewing competition. In my next video, I'm going to catch up on all the things that I haven't had a chance to catch up on because I have been so busy working on Calgary Frocktails, which is September 9th, and tickets are still available. There are still some available, and we have the most amazing door prizes. So if you haven't yet bought your tickets, I'm going to put a link for the tickets down below. Again, it's September 9th, 2023 in Calgary. But in the next video, I'm going to tell you about the changes I made to the Cashmere Kinnerton dress. I'm going to show you a couple of tops that I've made, and I'm going to quickly review where I am for my goals for 2023, only a month late, but better late than never. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well and enjoying the summer, and I'll see you soon.